Good morning, everybody. Today is May 9th, 2022. BMN 504, Foundations to this thought. I hope everyone is doing great. And last week we had our final, and now let's move on to the second part of our lecture series. I didn't receive all of your answers yet. Hopefully, maybe today. Let's see how it goes. And today's topic is one of the very important teachings of Buddhism, the doctrine of not self or non-self, no self. Most of the religions usually believe in something that is not destructible, something everlasting. Either it may be a soul. Most of the time they refer it as soul, S-O-U-L, soul. And in some religions, they do believe that soul is the thing that goes to the next life, either in heaven or somewhere. So something that continues without being damaged. In Buddhism, quite contrary to this idea, Buddhism teaches totally different. It basically accepts the fact that there is no something called self or soul. So most of the time people find this teaching a very difficult thing to understand, because we are used to believe that there is something behind this, our body, something behind. There should be some body or something. Yeah, but in Buddhism, it is explained in a different manner. Nothing is behind. So along with this teaching, when you elaborate on this teaching, in Buddhism, you find that human being is categorized or divided into basically into two factors. One is material factor, the other one is mental. So we are a composite of collection of these two factors, mental factors and physical factors. That's easy to understand. Name and form, in other words. Name and form, nama rupa. And then when it goes further, it explains that there are 5 aggregates, 5 heaps or 5 collections. These 5 collections together is called a person. We give him or her a name. Other than that, there is no permanent entity, permanent thing, a soul or self behind these 5 factors. What are these 5 factors? First one is form, physical form. Anybody can understand this thing. In the world, we see physical things, physical form. And then the second one is we all have feelings or sensations, different feelings based on our organs. Sometimes we get different feelings. So if someone asks who you are, I am my feelings. There is no other I am. There is no other I, only my feelings and my form, my body, my form, feelings, and not just form and feelings. There are three more factors. The third one is perceptions. I perceive certain things. I understand. Understand is rather different term, but I perceive certain things, and that is me. Perceptions. And the fourth one is mental formations. Mental formations are my thinking, my thoughts, how I think, the way my thought operates. And the last one is consciousness. You know the meaning of the word consciousness. So these five factors together is called a person, personality. So these are, you can call them factors of personality. A person could be divided into these five factors. Basically, there are two factors here. You see physical part, form, and the rest, the other four factors, other four aggregates are mental, right? Feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. All those four factors are mental. So the Buddha raises the question, when you can divide the person into these five factors, where do you find something called soul or self? There is no self. That is the idea. Only these five factors operates or collectively act as a person. These five factors collectively operate as a person, as a self. Other than that, there is no self. There is no soul, unchanging thing. So these things constantly changes, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, consciousness, even the body form constantly changes. So ever-changing self, if you want to call it ever-changing self, not unchanging self. So that's why Buddhism always teaches that you have in your deep understanding, in deep meditation only you can recognize this thing, that these forces are, these five forces, these aggregates keep a person functioning. Other than that, there is no other self or personality of self. There is no such a thing. Only these five forces, five factors operating together. So we are in ignorance. We believe that there is a person, me. This is me, this is mine, this is my, something like that. We create these type of ideas based on our ignorance. So Buddhism teaches that there is no such a thing called self. And this teaching is rather difficult thing to understand for most of the people. Even among Buddhists, during the time of the Buddha, even his close disciples, they were really, they could not understand this thing, and they were raising issues concerning this teaching. Many a times you find monks and disciples were raising questions based on this teaching. That because it's not the usual pattern of understanding that the average people have. Buddha gives a very good analogy to understand this factor. He says when you break a let's say for instance, a car, a vehicle. If you break the vehicle into parts, if you separate the parts in a vehicle, you find only the parts. Where is the vehicle? When you separate all of them, there is no such a thing called vehicle. In the same way, our body, human beings are the same. If you separate those things, like I told you, the 5 factors, 5 aggregates, there is no person, anything for that matter in this world. If you separate them into parts, you cannot find the designated thing. Designated thing means we have given different names for different things, people and all other existing things. We give names, chair, table, whatever. But if you separate the parts, there is no such a thing. So this is the teaching of non-self or not self in Buddhism. No personality. And then the question arises like this: if there is no self, if there is no personality, then who is doing karma? Who does karma and who reap the results of karma? We usually, in our earlier classes, we saw that if you do something bad, you will have to face the music. You will have to bear the consequences of the bad or the good, either way. Then who is doing good or bad, and who is reaping the effects of those good and bad things? A person. That is the easiest way for us to understand it. But Buddhism teaches that there is no person who does actions, neither a person who does actions, nor a person who reaps the results of those actions. This is a little bit difficult teaching. I'm giving you basic introduction. Theoretically, you can explain this thing, but it's very hard for us to understand this practically. In order to reach a practical understanding about this teaching, the Buddha says you have to analyze these things and you have to engage in meditation to realize this teaching. So I'm not sure whether you are going to do that thing, but for the purpose of getting a little bit of understanding about this teaching, what you need to do is to look at these 5 factors, the way that the Buddha has explained this thing. There is no person, but only the 5 factors. When these 5 factors operate together, then we call it person or self. Okay? When these factors are operating together, we call it self. If they are not there, then no self. The doctrine of no self is that there is no continuing self, existing self. What happens is ever changing. Every time, every second, these factors are changing. The person is also changing. So there is no unchanging self or soul. That is the teaching of the Buddha. That is the doctrine of no self in Buddhism. Based on this teaching, the Buddha teaches the other teaching. This is one of the cardinal teachings of Buddhism. So you may have different questions after listening to this. You might ask, if there is no self, then who is suffering? Who undergoes suffering in this world? And who is releasing from this suffering? Right? There will be questions like that. It is very hard to explain. The thing is, If we believe in, if we raise the question, who is suffering? Who? That question itself is wrong according to Buddhism. There is no person who suffers or who attains liberation or salvation or freedom. All these factors are operating, and the things that, the actions coming out of the operation of these 5 factors will generate some effects, will generate some positive or negative things, and continue forward. Other than that, there is no permanent entity. That is the word, entity. There is no permanent entity behind these 5 factors. So that's in that sense, it's called no self, doctrine of no self. And another way to look at this thing is that Buddha sets its argument like this: if everything is suffering, if everything is transitory, actually, everything is this world changes. It's called anicca. Anicca means impermanent. Everything is in this world is impermanent. When something is impermanent, can you call it happy or suffering? What do you call it? If things are changing, then things are suffering. Anicca. The second step is dukkha. Since the whole world is impermanent, there is suffering. Anicca, dukkha. And if there is suffering, then there is no self. If things are suffering, then there cannot be a permanent self. How come a permanent self is there when things are changing and things bring suffering? So that way also the Buddha describes this teaching based on the 3 characteristics of human existence. What are the 3 characteristics of human existence? One is impermanence, second one is suffering, third one is there is no self. So that way, Buddhism teaches the doctrine of no self. And for your understanding, this is enough. And also, please do a little research online. You will be able to clear your thoughts and have more broader understanding about the doctrine of no self in Buddhism. Hopefully, you will get today the homework for today, this week. And if you have any question, please let me know so I can respond to you. You can email it to me as usual. And with that, I conclude my lecture today. I'm not feeling well today, so I cannot go further. Please read the assigned text, the chapter on no self, doctrine of no self. And if you have question, please ask me. So thank you very much.